Story 1. My name is Scott. I am 46 years old now, but let's rewind to a chilly winter night in 2013. At that time, I was 35 and managing a club in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I was in the best phase of my life, confident and fully in charge of my surroundings. Everything was about smooth jazz and sparkle until that unforgettable night, one that still makes me shiver when I think about it. My club was modest, not particularly grand or flashy, but it was a cozy spot where people could unwind, enjoy some good tunes, and sip on a drink or two. I was familiar with the regulars and could easily spot a newcomer. That cold December evening, a man walked in who was visiting for the first time. Something about him was slightly off, not alarmingly so, but enough to catch my eye. He was of average height, with salt and pepper hair, wearing a coat that seemed overly thick for being indoors. His eyes had a peculiar expression. What particularly caught my attention was the young woman accompanying him. She looked to be in her 20s, with a bright yet nervous demeanor and a laugh that revealed her discomfort. Despite her unease, the man spoke in a low, persuasive tone, trying to reassure her. From behind the bar, I kept an eye on them, feeling increasingly uneasy. In Sioux Falls, we're a close-knit community, always keeping an eye out for one another, and we like to keep things peaceful. Feeling a sense of responsibility, I walked over to them casually and offered another round of drinks. The man's gaze met mine, sharp and cold, while the woman quickly looked my way, her eyes briefly showing relief. "No, we're just leaving," he replied, his voice as cold as the air outside, sending a chill down my spine. The woman seemed caught off guard. "I thought we'd stay for another song," she stuttered. The man appeared irritated but forced a smile. "Of course, darling," he agreed, though his eyes told me he wasn't pleased. As I retreated, a deep concern took hold of me. I pondered my next steps while continuing to observe the pair. Throughout the evening, his watchful eyes on her intensified my discomfort. When the final song ended and everyone started to leave into the cold night, I noticed him stand and assist the young woman to her feet. His hold on her arm seemed overly firm, his smile unnaturally stiff. She caught my eye, her look quietly pleading for help. I couldn't just watch them leave under those circumstances. Approaching them with a racing heart, I intervened. "Sorry, folks," I started, "but it seems there's still an open tab on your account." The man's expression turned to a frown as he released her to pull out his wallet. Seizing the moment, I leaned in and quietly asked the woman, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" She briefly met my gaze and subtly nodded. Relieved, I quickly directed her to wait in the restroom. To the man, I explained there was an issue with his credit card that required a call to the bank. While he was distracted, I discreetly phoned the police. The next hour passed in a whirlwind of flashing blue lights, concerned police officers, and a deep sense of relief. The young woman was taken to a safe place, and the man, well, he wasn't able to trouble anyone after that. Even now, a decade later, I still think about that night. Managing a club in Sioux Falls, you wouldn't expect to face such situations, but it taught me an important lesson. You can never be too vigilant, no matter where you are. This experience serves as a stark reminder that real terrors aren't always supernatural. Sometimes, the most frightening threats are those that hide behind a seemingly friendly face. Story 2. One evening at a club, I met a guy who seemed quite charming, handsome, and friendly. We hit it off and exchanged numbers before parting ways. I was 18 and eager to see him again, while he was in his early 20s. Having spent plenty of time in clubs, I felt pretty comfortable around new people. A week later, after a few text exchanges, we decided to grab a drink together. Since I didn't know him very well yet, I opted for safety and suggested meeting at the entrance of a well-known hotel on a main road near my home. From there, we headed to a local pub. I had plans later that evening to meet a friend at 9 o'clock, so we only stayed for an hour. After our quick drink, he kindly dropped me off where I was supposed to meet my friend. After a brief time together, we shared a quick kiss and said goodbye. I was somewhat relieved it was over because, to be honest, I found him quite dull. He later added me on Facebook, which I accepted, but we didn't really continue our conversation much after that. I thought that was the end of it. However, about a month later, we unexpectedly ran into each other while I was out of town. He confessed that he hadn't stopped thinking about me. Caught off guard and under the influence, I impulsively kissed him again. After that, we went our separate ways once more. A few days after our unexpected meeting, I noticed on Facebook that he was in a relationship. I'd assumed this meant he was no longer interested in me, but I was mistaken. Shortly after, he texted me, saying, "I am obsessed with you." Concerned, I told him to stop and reminded him that he had a girlfriend. He dismissed it, claiming he was just being flirty and that I should get over it. For the next 6 months, he would message me every few weeks. The first message after our exchange was disturbingly explicit about his sexual intentions. I immediately unfriended him on Facebook and repeatedly asked him to stop contacting me. Occasionally, he even sent unsolicited nude photos. Remember, all that had ever happened between us was a single kiss. About 10 months after he started his relationship, he texted me while on vacation with his girlfriend, expressing that he wished I were with him instead. I responded firmly, telling him to stop. Each time I rejected his advances, he would become irritated and declare that he never wanted to speak to me again. However, it usually took less than a month before I received another unsolicited nude picture or similar inappropriate message from him. I managed to ignore most of his messages, but one night, things escalated. It had been a few weeks since I'd heard from him, and I was alone at home while my parents were on vacation. A detail I hadn't shared with anyone. Around 1:00 a.m., my phone rang. It was him, so I hung up immediately. Then a series of texts came in. "Hey, let me in, I'm outside your house." I replied, "Yeah, no you're not. Leave me alone." He insisted, "I am. I know you're alone. Let me in," followed by explicit descriptions of what he wanted to do. Frightened, I responded, "Leave me alone. I'm not home alone, you're wrong. You don't even know where I live." He texted back, "I do. I'm outside your house. Your room has the red curtains," which was eerily accurate. I countered, "No, it isn't, and you've never been to my house. I picked you up from a spot 10 minutes away the first time we went out. You've never been here." Peering out from my bedroom window, there was no one visible. His next message chilled me. "I just saw your curls move. Let me in." Panicked, I darted around, turning off all the front lights, hoping to deter him. He responded, "You just turned the lights off. I know you're there." Overwhelmed and terrified, I started to cry and texted, "Leave right this second or I'm calling the police. If I ever see you, hear from you, or have any contact with you again, I will call the police." His reply was dismissive. "You'll need to be a ___ about it. I'll go." I didn't hear from him after that, but the ordeal stretched on for nearly 2 years from just a brief initial encounter. Now, whenever I see someone who resembles him, I still feel anxious. I have no idea how he knew where I lived or that my parents were not home that night. I suspect he must have followed me at some point. Story 3. My name is James, and I'm currently a 38-year-old security guard. However, back in 2019, when I was 34, I had a haunting experience while working at a club in Little Rock, Arkansas. It was a typical Friday night with the usual scene: loud music, vibrant lights, and people everywhere enjoying themselves. That particular night was unusually warm and muggy. The humidity was so intense that it felt like it clung to your skin, almost like a sticky coat, even inside the club where you'd expect some respite from the summer heat. I noticed a pair who initially seemed like a couple. The man, probably in his early 40s, was tall, dark, and fairly handsome. He appeared to be trying a bit too hard to blend in with the younger crowd at the club. The woman, likely about 10 years his junior, was very attractive and seemed eager to enjoy the evening. As a security guard, I've developed a keen sense for spotting trouble, and something about the man's demeanor struck me as off. He seemed overly eager and a bit anxious. I decided to keep a subtle watch on him as I made my rounds. Everything appeared normal until the woman excused herself to go to the restroom. It was then that I caught the man pulling a small vial from his pocket. He was quick and tried to be discreet as he poured the liquid into the woman's drink. A rush of adrenaline hit me as I realized what was happening. I had heard about such incidents, but witnessing one firsthand was truly horrifying. I'd immediately sprang into action, weaving through the crowd to get to the table before she returned. In a quick move, I grabbed the glass and pretended to trip, spilling the drink all over. The man stood up abruptly, his shock evident as he tried to maintain his composure. However, his eyes betrayed his fear. He knew he had been caught. I quickly pulled him aside and firmly told him to leave the club. I wanted to handle the situation quietly without drawing too much attention. He attempted to argue, but I made it clear I wouldn't tolerate any discussion. When the woman came back, she was clearly puzzled by the situation, but I reassured her that everything was under control. She expressed her gratitude and continued with her evening. The incident still troubles me. I often think about the potential consequences had I not been vigilant or noticed the man's odd behavior. It serves as a sobering reminder that danger can hide in the most unexpected places, even in settings designed for fun and celebration. This might not be a conventional horror story, but the real-life threat it represents is far scarier than any supernatural tale because it could happen to anyone, anywhere. Thanks for watching. If our stories chilled your spine or made you think twice about your night out, please like, comment, and subscribe for more haunting tales. Your support helps us bring these important stories to light. Remember, safety comes first, and awareness is key. Don't forget to share our videos to help keep your friends informed and safe. See you in the next video.